Uh, is this good? What the hell's going on? I think this is okay. That's good. Yeah, off to a good start. Already got 5 likes. That's pretty cool. There's a notification. Always good. Pretty good start to the stream. Now it's always the fun waiting game. See if anyone wants to come chill. What's up, Seth? What's up, Spider? How you guys doing? Spider, you got to be pretty excited about your team. You guys made another big move today, adding in Dalton Schultz, 1-year deal. Nice little pickup. All right, I don't know what's up with this. There we go. Perfect. All right, got everything up and moving now. Yeah, Cowboys are having a pretty good one. There's no real order we're gonna do this in. We'll just pick a team and go, give them a grade, pick the next team, give them a grade. The way I kind of want to go about this is basically we look at the additions, we look at the players that they lost, that they added, and then we kind of talk about like, are they good additions? Are they good subtractions? Are they kind of just like a neutral thing, kind of like getting rid of Jacoby Myers for Juju Smith-Schuster? But there is reasons that's an improvement. So there's some good stuff to talk about. Yeah, Singletary as well, behind Damon Pierce. Yeah, we'll give it like 5. We'll give it like 5 to 10 minutes to get going, and then we'll jump in and pick teams and just kind of blah 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 blah. Just give it a little bit to get going, people to come in, and everyone find their ways in and whatnot. You can leave a like so we can get the stream going off to a good start. That'd be helpful. As always. Yeah, the news slowed down in the last couple days. It's been kind of like slow stuff. We're just kind of waiting to see essentially where Odell lands and where D-Hop is traded to. I think those are the 2 biggest situations left. Then there's like Bobby Wagner. But you can probably tell he's going to wind up on like one of the 4 contenders. Also, I think the Lions might, to me, in my head right now, the teams that have had the best off seasons have been the Lions, the Bengals, Miami's had a really good off season. The Jets have had if the Jets land Aaron Rodgers, they've had a great off season. Houston, depending on what Carolina does at quarterback, they could be in that talk. And if they get another receiver, there's a few teams that have significantly improved. I think Chicago's a better team than they were last year. Like off rip, getting DJ Moore in. Like there's a few teams we're gonna have fun talking about. I would have to argue though the Lions are probably the best off-season team. Yeah, we'll see. Nelson Aguilar is a mixed bag of. For sure, Stud. I appreciate you, man. Thanks for the like. Good looking out. Yeah, Miami's gonna get like an A-. Gonna be honest, Stud. I don't really see any mistakes you guys have made. The worst? Like gut feeling wise, I would have to say like the Eagles have had what seems to be a really bad offseason. I don't think Buffalo, other than signing Damian Harris tonight. What's up, Jacob? I don't really know what Buffalo's done that's been like eye popping or like that like keeps them far ahead of the Jets, the Dolphins, or the Patriots. The Packers are having a pretty bad. They just haven't done anything. Like they're losing Aaron Rodgers and they've just done nothing. Like they have no receivers and they're just like, we're just very content with our team. And it's just like, well, you guys aren't good. How are you going to compete with the Lions, the Vikings? The Vikings have maybe got a little worse. Just kind of like quick thinking around the league really quick. The Eagles are like a team I want to look at and see like what they've actually lost, what they've gained, who they've retained, all those like fun things to think about. Packers, yeah, they could be pretty bad. Yeah, they've had a pretty bad it all really depends on what they get back for the Aaron Rodgers trade. If they get a couple firsts back, or at least a first back, then it's like, all right, good offseason for them. They got quite a high return for a 40-year-old on a huge contract. Arizona's a weird team when we get to them. Remember, these are just my like pre-thoughts. When we get to Arizona, I'm not sure how I'm going to rate them because they're dealing with a really weird situation of a bunch of players retiring and a bunch of players being like way past their prime. So like since they're willing to trade players and willing to move on from like D-Hop and like rebuild their roster in a year where Kyler's going to be hurt, I'm probably going to give them like a C plus, like B minus, just because I don't think they're doing anything bad so long as they actually trade D-Hop. And I think they're going to. I think they're just waiting to get like a decent return offer. Yeah, but I think they're openly rebuilding. So I like there's another stipulation. I'm not going to give a team that's in an open rebuild like a D. Because it's like, well, of course they're getting rid of everybody. They want to go in a new direction, and that's like the right move sometimes. You know what I mean? So there's always those complications when we get to like, Indianapolis. They're gonna get a like a C minus, like a D plus. Have they done anything to improve that football team that was pretty fucking abysmal on offense last year? And again, remember, this is to this point, so we can't really take into any like future drafts moves that they might make, players that might sign. Like with the Patriots, I can't be like, well, they're probably going to acquire another receiver so they get a high grade. No, I can't do that. That's whatever moves have been made right now, because this is pretty much the end of the first week of free agency. It's officially like tomorrow at like noon is like a week from when everything changed over, like the legal tampering started. Raiders have had a surprisingly good offseason. They got much cheaper, and they didn't really downgrade too hard at any position. We'll go over them in a minute, and you'll be pretty shocked to see, like, oh, wait a minute, the Raiders kind of did some good moves. So they'll be fun to debate. We'll get going in about 3 minutes here on, like, the main portion of the stream. So let's, give it a few more minutes. Maybe some people will pop in. A couple things I wanted to do before we got in. Las Vegas have free. Yeah, they've signed people. What's up, TB? Hey, we're already at 9 likes. Really good. But yep, we'll get going in about 2 minutes here. Do we have any preferences for teams to start out on? Because again, we have all these divisions here. We can pick whatever team, and we'll just look at it again. Pretty easy way to doing this is just look at who they lost, who they gained, and kind of if they've lost. If anyone can remember if they've lost coaches as well, because that can be kind of significant. I don't know. I don't think I want to do coaches too, because that can get kind of weird. Never really know how like a new coach is going to work in a situation. It's like it might be pretty good. Because 2 years ago when the Lions hired in Dan Campbell, we probably wouldn't have given that a high grade, and now we would. You know what I mean? So coaching can be, and I'm sure there were people out there that thought Urban Meyer wasn't going to be as bad as he was. I'm pretty sure people thought the Urban Meyer and Dan Campbell thing would have been flip-flopped. I'm willing to bet that to some extent. You know what I mean? Not like Urban was going to be this great coach, but I bet you the success of the two would be flipped. Is what most people would have assumed, because I think they were hired the same year. So I mean, we could start with Kansas City. Might as well. That works for me. Let's get them popped open. We're gonna look at departures first. I think that's a good way to go. Ooh, lost a lot. All right. Like I said, I was just looking for someone to start it off, and then we'll keep going. Once we get through a team, we'll get to the next one, and I don't know how long this is going to take. Okay. All right, we're going to get started then. We ready? Everybody ready? All right. So Chad Henne retired. They lost Ronald Jones II, not a big deal. They lost Jerick McKinnon, not the biggest deal. They lost their fullback, Michael Burton. I don't know, not the biggest deal to lose the fullback in 2023. Mecole Hardman, that's a pretty hard loss. They lost Juju Smith-Schuster. He signed with a new team. Justin Watson's gone. Blake Bell is gone. Orlando Brown is gone. Andrew Wiley's gone. So they lost two of their tackles, two very good tackles, by the way. Frank Clark is gone. Carlos Dunlap is probably gone. Kalen Sanders signed to the Saints. Hold on. Derek Nandy, Brandon Williams, Deion Bush, and Juan Thornhill. So in terms of significant players, they've lost Juan Thornhill, Frank Clark, Carlos Dunlap, Andrew Wiley, Orlando Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Mecole Hardman. So that's a tough group of players to lose. Let's see what they gained now. They signed Juwan Taylor. All right, that replaces one of their tackles that they lost. I will say that's a pretty good move. That's a lateral move from either Wiley or Orlando Brown. That's a major plus up. Yeah, Thornhill I don't think they've signed anybody to replace Thornhill either. Yeah, I'm hoping the USA can beat Mexico because it looks like Mexico is going to win. They signed Nick Allegretti. He re-signed. Charles Omenehu, pretty good signing as an edge rusher. So they replaced. It looks like they replaced Carlos Dunlap and are going to try to replace Frank Clark with one of somebody with Charles. And then they also signed Mike Edwards. So, man, the Chiefs aren't having a good offseason, folks. They haven't really replaced Mecole Hardman. They're not really replacing anybody. They're going to have to be really active in the draft here coming up in what is a rather weak draft class, if we're being like completely transparent. This is a bad offseason, folks. Like, can anybody point, like, other than replacing one of their Orlando Brown with Juwan Taylor, which is a good move. That's a lateral movement. Keeping one of their guards and keeping Tershawn Wharton, who I've never heard of. This isn't good. Unless they're planning something later on in the preseason, in the offseason. Again, they didn't really need to do much, but they are losing Mecole Hardman, and I believe they're losing. They lost Juju, so they've lost two receivers, and they have yet to replace a single one of them. Bengals get a C-. I don't know about that. Ravens are about to get a deal. You think the Ravens and Lamar are coming close? We'll get to them. Is C- too low? Because remember, these are all the people they've lost, and they have not replaced any single receiver, any running back, not a tight end. Only one of their tackles they've replaced. They replaced Frank Clark, but they haven't gotten Dunlap technically. They didn't replace Juan Thornhill with somebody who's actually good. The Steelers signing? We can go to some. Do we want to do them next? So I don't know. What do you guys think what are we thinking for the Chiefs? What kind of grade are you guys thinking? I have C-. I'm going to open up a notepad, and we're going to write these down. Chiefs equal. What are we thinking? I think Chiefs wants Beckham win. The thing is, if they can get somebody down the road, this is a pretty decent offseason. But again, right now, we're not grading them on moves that can be made down the road. If so, then, that makes it really hard. But, as it stands right now, they're not, it's like a C- to me. I see a C, I see a F. Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, especially since most of the moves will be considered by then. Somebody will probably have D-Hop. Somebody will probably have Odell, Bobby Wagner. All the good players will be dealt with. D+. Ooh. So we're looking at a C- right now. Then the C- is probably what we're taking from this, because I see a C, an F, which is far too low. Because they have, they've made a couple decent moves. Getting Juwan Taylor was huge. That's only one of their tackles. They lost Wiley too. So are we comfortable giving them a C- and just kind of moving on to the next one? All right. That's what I'm going to do. Okay. Steelers next then. Yes, I'm sorry, Seth. That was far too low of a grade. No, I mean, come on, man. All right, we'll go to Steelers. Somebody said Steelers next, so that's what we're doing, Seth. All right, Pittsburgh Steelers. Go up to who they've gained as well. I want to have them both ready. Ooh. All right, the Steelers have lost the following players. Mason Rudolph, quarterback. They lost Benny Snell Jr., who was a decent mover on offense. They lost Derek Watt at fullback, not really big deal. They've lost wide receiver Miles Boykin, not exactly a big deal. Trenton Scott, never heard of him. Losing Malik Reed was pretty big. Tyson Alulu. Chris Wormley, that's a pretty big loss on the defensive line. Devin Bush is a pretty sizable loss. Miles Jack's a pretty good loss. Robert Spillane, not a big deal. William Jackson III at corner, Cameron Sutton's a decent sized loss. They've lost Terrell Edmonds, Carl Joseph, and safety DeMonte Kazee. So significant losses. Carl Joseph, Cameron Sutton, Miles Jack, Devin Bush, Wormley, Malik Reed, and probably kind of Benny Snell Jr. And then they've gained... Oh, they signed Patrick Peterson, so that's pretty good. Elandon Roberts is a pretty good one. Cole Holcomb isn't bad. They kept Larry Ogunjobi, that's pretty good. Signed in a guard, they signed 2 guards, which is pretty solid. Isaac Seumalo and Nate Herbig. I don't know. What are we thinking? They didn't really. It feels like they just lost players on their defense, and a lot of those guys are kind of getting older, like Miles Jack and so it's like, and Devin Bush, he's been up and down for the Steelers, kind of inconsistent. What's up, JJ? Who's WJ3? I'm sorry. See, them signing Patrick Peterson and Elandon Roberts and Holcomb are huge. What's up, Jacob? But they've lost quite a bit of defense. William Jackson. Nobody's got William yet. The only players who've been picked up are Malik Reed. Oh, Malik Reed's huge too. Yeah, I might have to give him like a C plus too. Just because, I mean, it feels like they've lost quite a few players, right? Like, and it doesn't feel like they've done much to replace some of these. Like, they've lost 3 safeties and they haven't brought a new one in. They lost 2 corners, and from my recollection, I didn't see them sign. Yeah, well, they signed Patrick Peterson. All right, fair. Never mind. All right, we won't talk about the corners then. Maybe since he brings it back. I don't know. I think a C plus is appropriate. I don't think they've made any like egregiously bad moves to where you'd have to. Because again, signing Patrick Peterson, I think, is a big move. That'll instantly make it so any young corner you draft is good. Elandon Roberts is a good linebacker. Holcomb is good. Ogunjobi, keeping him's huge. And getting 2 guards for a team that needs an offensive line is huge too. So they've made good moves. I mean, it sucks that they're losing almost their whole defense, but I don't know. Again, age. That's a tough loss. Cam Sutton's a tough loss. Age, Cutting Miles Jack was concerning, but after his injury, he didn't return back to his... And he's a little older. So Nathan, we're probably going to give you guys a C+. Mainly just because it's like you did lose 3 safeties and you've done nothing to replace them. You've lost 3 linebackers and you've brought in Cole Holcomb coming up. You know what I mean? Peterson's like 30. 2? 30. Oh, that's his arm. He is 32. You're at a C minus? All right, we can go to C. I'll put it at a C. I have no problem doing that. We like to do the average out grades. So far, then, we have 2 done. We have the Chiefs at a C minus and Steelers at a C. Does that sound good? Who do we want to jump to next? Just go ahead and throw a team out there and we'll hop right to them. Even though arguably the Chiefs should probably be in the D range. They've really done nothing to ensure a repeat. If nobody has a suggestion, I'll just do a team. Who do I want to cover? Well, let's do the Jaguars. Bills? Okay. Oh, you called that just in time. Just in time. I was just about to start doing the Jags. Bills, Jags. Okay, then we'll do the Jags after. All right, let's look at the Bills. They've had an arguably kind of bad offseason. Let me know what you think. They've lost Case Keenum, not a big deal, backup. Devin Singletary's gone, but they did add a new running back this afternoon in Damian Harris, so it's kind of like a neutral move, not a big deal. They lost Cole Beasley, Jamison Crowder, Jake Kumro, and Isaiah McKenzie as receivers. The only one that's really troubling out of that is Isaiah McKenzie. They lost Bobby Hart, but they signed a new offensive lineman. They lost David Quisenberry, Roger Saffold, and Greg Van Rotten, so they lost pretty much 3 of their offensive guards and Bobby Hart. So that's a huge set of losses. They lost Shaq Lawson. They lost Jordan Phillips on the defensive line. They lost Tremaine Edmonds. Those are big losses. They lost AJ Klein. Not that big a deal. And they lost 2 safeties, one Jaquan Johnson, and not a big deal. And Dean Marlowe, really good depth. So significant players that the Bills have lost. Isaiah McKenzie, Bobby Hart, David Quisenberry, Roger Saffold, Greg Van Rotten, Shaq Lawson, Jordan Phillips, Tremaine Edmonds, and Dean Marlowe. Yeah, their defense got the shit beat out of it. And their line took a hit too. I think they lost both their guards. They kept Jordan Poyer, so that's decent. So they got Kyle Allen as a backup, whatever. Again, this kind of cancels it out, the Damian Harris thing. What's up, Kenny? So when losing Singletary would have been bigger, but they got Damian Harris, so pretty much the same guy. Deontay Hardy is a kick return wide receiver, and they signed Trent Sherfield. So I would say that they replaced Isaiah McKenzie with Trent Sherfield, which is a really good steal from the Dolphins. He's a really underrated receiver. They signed Connor McGovern, so they essentially replaced Quisenberry. But they didn't replace another one of their guards in Saffold, Van Rotten, or Bobby Hart. So that's kind of a loss on the line. But McGovern is a really good guard, so good replacement there. Tyler Metcalf, he's re-signing. Matt Milano re-signed. Jordan Poyer re-signed. Dane Jackson. And they re-signed Sam Martin. They made some good moves, I'll be honest. Getting McGovern, getting Sherfield are good moves. But I do wonder if, like, because again, they lost one guard. They picked up one guard, but they lost a tackle, a guard, and a guard. That seems a little worrying. And then they've also lost. Did they get a new edge? They've kept 2 of their linebackers, so they haven't replaced Tremaine Edmonds at all. And I don't think they've replaced Shaq Lawson or Jordan Phillips. No, they haven't. Okay. What are we thinking here? Because again, you have to. I think with the Bills, one of the things you have to keep in mind with the Bills. What's up, Jeremy? Is the fact that the rest of the division got aggressively better. The Dolphins are a better team than they were last year. The Patriots will be better than they were last year, and the Jets are going to be better than they were. Can you confidently say the same thing about Buffalo, looking at everything they've lost and what they've replaced it with? I give them a C personally, but I can be talked up into a higher grade. What on this signing, and what did they gain? Yeah, I don't hold grudges on people, Jeremy. Except for when I thought you guys were the trolls. And then I realized, I was like, oh, wait a minute, I think they actually just like the channel, and they're just kind of shitlordy. And I misjudged them. So that was my fault. I kind of judge people weird. What are we thinking? I see a B. I've seen Bs and stuff. So people obviously are liking this off-season by Buffalo, but we can't. By the way, remember, this isn't like an indictment on the team being bad or good. Like, we gave the Chiefs a C-. Like, they're still going to be a top 4 team when the AFC is all said and done. It's just they're having a bad off-season. They've done nothing. C and a B plus, a C, B minus, C plus. I was thinking C, so I can go C plus. It seems like we can kind of average this out. I see a couple C's. I see so C plus cool with everybody. Again, their preseason couldn't. Again, things can improve for these teams. We're recording this so like after the draft or when the offseason comes to a close, we can do a second grading and see how much they've improved from. Yeah, and it's all just lateral moves that don't make them any better. And like the AFC's only gotten only slightly, is only gotten better and better and better, and it feels like Buffalo's kind of stayed the same, and that's not idea. Jaguars next, somebody said. Okay, let me get down to the Jaguars. Eesh. They don't really have any money, so this is not really surprising. They've lost Darrell Henderson at running back. Yeah. Marvin Jones, that's a pretty decent loss at receiver, but they've also gained Calvin Ridley via trade, so not the biggest deal. They lost Dan Arnold at tight end. They lost tight end Chris Manhertz. They lost Blake Kantz. They've lost Jawan Taylor. That's probably their biggest loss, was losing Jawan Taylor. They've lost Arden Key, one of their defensive edges. They've lost Duwan Smoot, another edge. Corey Peters, defensive lineman, and Shaquille Griffin at corner, which is a sizable loss. F for the Bills, LOL, D plus. Nah, it's not that bad. They signed Malcolm Calvin Ridley, so I would count that as coming into this year because they didn't have him last year. So they kept Ingram, they kept Adam Ghostis, they kept CJ Beathard, they kept Trey. All right, they're gonna get a bad grade. What are we giving these? They've done nothing. They basically kept Trey Herndon, Andrew Weingard. And they signed Roy Robertson Harris. That's all they've done. And they've lost a lot of people. Losing Jawan Taylor, zero things to replace him. That's like a fucking D. Nah, JJ, you're being a little too kind. That's like a D minus. They've literally done nothing. Keeping Andrew Weingard is huge, I would have to say. Keeping Evan Ingram's big. But it's like they've done fucking nothing. Like, what's up, Max? D plus. Yeah, I haven't. So we're gonna probably average it out at like a D. I think is a good grade. Again, this isn't saying they're gonna be bad teams. Again, the Bills have a C, the Chiefs have a C. What do we have so far? We have the Bills have a C plus, Chiefs C minus, Jaguars D, Steelers C. Some teams are just not doing anything. Oh, they don't like Wingard too? I thought that was actually a decent signing. And it's so incentive laden too. I don't know what they're upset about. But yeah, so Jaguars were kind of a bust. Who do we want to go to next? About a E. Yeah, we're all on a similar page. Somewhere around the D. I put him at a D. Because again, keeping some of these guys was huge. Keeping Ingram was huge. And, Texans? We can go to the Texans. Yeah. We're still in a place where things can drastically change with a good draft. All right, we'll go to the Texans. She said D. Oh, yeah, your cousin Sky's a Jags fan. All right, we'll go to Houston. We'll stay in the AFC South. Holy shit. Dude, look at Houston's offseason. This is everybody they've added so far. I'm telling you, I'm going to give them a really good grade here in a second. You guys are going to be like, really? All right, here's all the losers they got rid of. This is how you go from losing all your games almost to being a good team in the following season. This is who they've lost. Quarterback Kyle Allen, Jeff Driscoll, don't care. Rex Burkhead, Royce Freeman, doesn't matter. They have Damon Pierce. Losing Brandon Cooks kind of sucks. Losing Philip Dorsett isn't good. But they can eventually replace those two. And I think they've signed people to replace them. Chris Moore, don't know who that is. Losing Jordan Akins and OJ Howard, that's not ideal. Losing Justin Britt, AJ McCann, Justin McCray, and Justin Britt. Doesn't fucking matter. That's a bad offensive line anyway. Losing Rasheem Green, not a big deal. Losing Okoronkwo Agbo, you didn't want to lose him. That's one of your worst losses on the team. I'm going to say that right now. Losing him wasn't good. Losing Mario Addison was bad. Jalen Raves-Maben is not that big a deal. Depending on how you draft, Traymon Smith might not be the biggest deal, but right now it kind of is. Jonathan Owens, not a big deal because you replaced him, and John Weeks, your long snapper. They didn't really lose anybody good, except literally Agbo. Yeah, Schultz, Singletary, Woods. Yeah, wait till we go. Wait till you get, and listen. Yeah, wait till let's go over there. Let's go see what we're doing. All right, here's who the Texans have brought in. All right, you guys ready to give the Houston a really good grade? All right, they brought in Case Keenum to be the starter / backup. Mike Boone, don't know who that, whatever. They signed Devin Singletary. They signed Noah Brown. They signed Robert Woods. They traded Brandon Cooks. Why is he on here? Oh, they brought in okay, whatever. They got in Andrew Beck, Dalton Schultz. They signed Larry Tunzel, or they signed him to an extension. They brought in Shaq Mason. They signed Scott Quisenberry from the Bills. That's that's his brother. Sorry, wrong guy. They brought in Chase Winovich, Sheldon Rankins, Hassan Ridgeway, Tyre Thomas, MJ Stewart, and Jimmy Ward. Yeah, I don't. Does anybody have a bad grade to give these guys? Can anybody, I know they've made some crazy moves, but it's like Rankins was huge. Ward is probably one of the biggest off seasons I've ever seen. Yeah, and they also added in D'Amico Ryan to be the head coach of Jimmy Ward. Dude. And they also got Sheldon Rankins. They brought in Shaq Mason. They brought in Dalton Schultz. They brought in Robert Woods. They brought in Noah Brown, Devin Singletary to back up Damon Pierce. Dude, this is an A-. I would say A- for Houston. That's a B+ for Houston. It's that the fact that they got rid of bad players and added in a king's chest of good, really good players for a team that had nothing. This ain't bad. That Jimmy Ward signing is actually, like you're saying, that's an insane signing. The fact that they've somehow brought in Jimmy Ward because of D'Amico Ryan. This is a good offseason. They replaced a bunch of shitty players and brought in some good ones, especially Shaq Mason. That's a really big pick. Keeping Larry Tunzel, Dalton Schultz is a great value deal. I don't know how the hell they got him for $9 million. So A-. If the Texans overperform just a bit, they could finish second over Indy and Tennessee, who got rid of almost everybody, basically. Yeah, exactly. Because the AFC South might be bad outside of Jacksonville and Houston, they could sneakily contend for this division next year if everything goes just right. We'll give Texans, what are we thinking? URSC Texans equal A. I'll just give them a solid A, not an A+. Because again, they lost a lot of their offensive line. They lost Justin Britt, AJ, that's 4 offensive linemen. So I'll give them a solid A, but I think anything over that would be a little bit too much. Let's just go to the Colts. Let's just get these losers out of the way. Or did somebody have somebody they really wanted to do? They're right here. We might as well just stay right here. Where the hell are they? Right here. There we go. All right. So they got rid of Matt Ryan. That's a fine move. Paris Campbell, that's a big loss. They lost offensive tackles Dennis Kelly and Matt Pryor, so their line is now somehow worse. They lost edge rushers Ben Banagu and Yannick Ngakoue. That's a solid loss. Hey, what's up, Navy? Yeah, that was a pretty big loss losing Agbo. I don't know about the Patriots looking at Lamar. That'd be interesting. I'd prefer to keep Mac, but let's see. They lost Bobby Okereke. That's probably their biggest loss, is this guy. Brandon Faison, Stephon Gilmore, Ronnie McLeod. That's another big loss. And they lost their kicker and their punter, but not a big deal. So their big losses, I would say, are McLeod, Gilmore, Okereke, Cowart, Ngakoue, Paris Campbell. They've gained Gardner Minshew. All right, they're drafting a quarterback. It doesn't matter. They signed Samson Ebicom. Pretty good. And Matt Gay. And they've kept a bunch of guys. I don't know. Yeah, that's what I mean, Navy. I'm not too interested in the whole Lamar thing because we have a quarterback. C-. Yeah, I'm thinking D+, D. Just I don't know. Getting Samson Ebicom is pretty good, but I don't think they've done enough. Is Samson enough to replace they're losing a good chunk of their secondary and not replacing it. Like I don't know what the secondary is going to look like. We can get to the Patriots in a little bit. Maybe we want to do them after this. We can. Man, you gotta be Navy. We're literally talking about the Colts right now. I'm like, I can't interrupt and just like move around and talk about whatever you're asking. No, I'm not trying to be rude or anything, but it's like, do you see how that's kind of interrupting the flow of the stream with you just kind of spamming out like, what do you think about this Patriots move and this Patriots move? It's like, man, I'm literally, we're like in the middle of another team. All right. Anyway, so I don't know. C minus, C minus. All right, we've seen a couple C minuses, so we'll just go with the C minus on the Colts. Oop, wrong one. Okay, let's go to the Patriots then. Where are we at? We're at the top. These are the additions. Where are the subtractions? Okay, so the Patriots have lost the following players. QB Brian Hoyer, who's probably just going to retire. They've lost Damian Harris, who signed to the Bills. Jacoby Myers, they lost him. They lost Nelson Aguilar. They traded Jonnu Smith. They lost Marcus Cannon, Isaiah Wynn. They lost... Oh, we re-signed Carl Davis. We'll see about Carl Davis. I'm pretty sure we re-signed him. Devin McCourty retired. Jalen Mills was let go, and we let both of our punters go. Jake Bailey being one of them. So some pretty tough losses. The biggest one obviously being Damian Harris, Jacoby Myers, Carl Davis, but I'm pretty certain his ass is still there. Devin McCourty, and that's about that. So four sizable losses, I would have to say. I'm gonna have to look into that, but anyway. So the Patriots replaced Damian Harris with James Robinson. Probably a little bit better running back, mainly because they're very similar runners, Damian Harris and James Robinson. It's just James Robinson can catch the ball a little better. Similar injury problems, so it kind of is a normal slight upgrade. What's up, Jess? We can do the Raiders next if you want to. Then we have Juju Smith-Schuster, who is, I think, a small upgrade over Jacoby Myers. Some would say that's kind of a lateral movement, but it depends on how you consider yards after the catch for a receiver. Jacoby Myers is a 40th to 45th ranked receiver in yards after catch and yards after catch average, whereas Juju Smith-Schuster is 11th in yards after catch and in yards after catch average and like 15th in yards after catch total. So you go from a top 40 to 45 to a top 15 to 11. You see how like there's a slight upgrade, but not a crazy one. Then they signed Mike Gesicki to replace Jonnu Smith. So everything's been there's been a lot of good moves. I'd say that's a upgrade for what the Patriots need. They re-signed James Ferentz, not a big deal. They signed Calvin Anderson, not a big deal. Riley Reef, not a big deal. They re-signed a guy. They signed Chris Board, really good special teams player from Detroit. I would say that's a good signing. And then a bunch of re-signs. They kept Jonathan Jones, Mac Wilson, Jabril Peppers. What are we thinking? I'd give us a B plus. Haven't really lost anything too crazy. We've replaced everybody we've lost that really matters. Kept the guys we needed to keep. Upgraded at running back, wide receiver, and tight end. Kept keeping pace. What's up, Nicholas? No, we're not too late at all. So far, we've given the Bills a C+, the Colts a C-, the Chiefs a C-, the Jaguars. I like how everyone's giving low grades because it's my team. It's hilarious. Jaguars D, Steelers C, and Texans A. Like, what have we not done yet that still doesn't say this team is still going to be able to compete with its division? They're certainly ahead of Buffalo, who everybody gave a C+. I'm thinking solid B to B+. Because again, they didn't really lose anything that makes you go, oh, they're fucked. Like, what one thing can you point to and be like, oh, they're screwed? So again, no bad losses. And if you say Myers or Harris, they replaced them with James Robinson and Juju. And then they added Gesicki to replace Smith. Like, you know, everything seems really well done here. And they added good depth at tackles. So, yeah, I would say a B. Solid B. B. Everyone's kind of, okay, we'll go with the B. That's kind of where I was thinking. Because, again, there's a couple more moves. Like, if they had already added in D-Hop, that's an A offseason, for example, right? Like, Patriots have a very good potential to shoot way up to an A. Yeah, no big time signings. It's just been a bunch of good depth. If they can get D-Hop, it's an A. I would have, it's inarguably like a very good offseason. What team were we going to go to next? I'm sorry. Raiders? Oh, we can do Raiders. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Raiders have had an interesting offseason because they've lost a lot of people, but then I think they're another one of them teams that have, oh yeah, they're a scroller. Oh, actually, I think I can fit all these guys in one. Oh, no, I can't. Jesus Christ. All right, we'll start with who they lost, and just let me know if you guys ever want to see like the actual list, because then I can just go like this, and pop that open. See, this is the list we've created: Bills C+, Colts C-, Chiefs C-, Jaguars D. We're being harsh graders, but we're gonna do a second grading after the draft and everything. Steelers C, Patriots B, and Texans A. Texans have, to me, have had one of the best off seasons, and it's, you know, not particular, like, just for what they're doing. Raiders, I think, also will get a high grade, surprisingly, once we get through it. They lost Derek Carr, pretty big. They lost Jarrett Stidham, pretty big. I think they replaced him adequately, though. They lost Keelan Cole. They've lost Matt Collins. So those are two pretty sizable losses. They lost Foster Moreau. They've lost Darren Waller, pretty big one. Jermaine Illuminor, that's another big loss. Alex Bars, yeah. Cleveland Farrell, that's whatever loss. They lost Andrew Billings. They lost Kyle Pleco. They've lost Isaac Rochelle. Basically, they lost defense. Jayon Brown, Denzel Perryman, Anthony Averett, Sidney Jones, Rock Ya-Sin, and Deron Harmon. Cole actually resigned. Oh, yeah, I remember that. Okay, Keelan Cole's been resigned. Raiders C+, I know they got Jimmy G and Jacoby Myers. Yeah, they've lost basically almost the whole defense. And then when we can go look at what they've added. They added Jimmy Garoppolo, re-signed Amir Abdullah, re-signed Josh Jacobs. Well, kind of re-signed him. They've got Jacob Johnson back. They've got O.J. Howard. They've added Philip Dorsett. They've added Jacoby Myers. They signed Robert Spillane, Brandon Faison. Marcus Epps is a pretty good signing, and they signed long snapper Jacob Bobenmeyer. So I don't know. Yeah, Raiders are kind of Austin Hooper. That's not a bad signing. I don't know. It feels like the Raiders just, it's like solid B territory because it feels like they lost a lot of defense and they've really only replaced it with some offensive players and like re-signed a bunch of their defense. So I'm not really certain what kind of depth they have right now. It feels like they've improved though, right? Because they've like got weirdly cheaper at certain situations. Through your draft picks. Yeah, I would guess so too, that your draft is going to be defense. But it feels like you've upgraded like neutral, like with OJ Howard to Darren Waller. It's not like a downgrade, but it's also significantly cheaper. Jimmy G is kind of like a weird upgrade, but it's like only because he's cheaper. Getting Myers, getting Dorsett are good deals. Because that adds to Devontae Adams, like the receiving room, I would have to argue. Yeah, B- isn't too bad. Yeah, we're not doing future signings, so that's the only problem. But you guys did re-sign Matt Collins, so that's kind of a big deal. That's not a terrible receiving core. I can live with the B- for the Raiders, mainly just because it feels like they were able to keep a key number of decent guys, sign Marcus Epps, sign 2 receivers, it seemed like they were able to keep, especially if they can keep Josh Jacobs, like because they still have him as of right now. That's a pretty big thing. Yeah, I don't know. It's not like, I mean, they lost quite a bit, but it also feels like not that they didn't really lose anything that makes you go wow. Just more of an indication that they shouldn't have been letting certain people draft. Making all them terrible draft picks that they've made. All right. Losing Cleveland Farrell's hilarious. He still feels like one of the biggest overdrafts I've seen in a really long time. All right. Who do you guys want to go on to next? Didn't expect the Darren Waller trade. Yeah, Gruden was drafting a team built for the early 2000s, not the modern era of football. Oh, since we're right by the Chargers, I guess we can just do the Chargers. All right, let's see who the Chargers have lost. 4-3, Mexico's up. We can do the Saints after. Yeah, Jess. Yeah, they're going to be fixing some of them idiots. Chargers and Saints. Yeah, we can do that. All right, so the Chargers have lost Chase Daniel, DeAndre Carter, tight end Richard Rodgers, center Will Clapp. That's a pretty good loss. Offensive guard Matt Feeler, edge Kyle Van Noy. Not a big deal anymore. Defensive lineman Christian Covington and Tyler Davison. Never heard of them before, so obviously not that big of a deal. Linebackers Troy Reeder and Drew Tranquil, not a big deal. They lost Bryce Callahan, that feels like a big deal. And Nasir Adderley retired. They re-signed Easton Stick, signed Donald Parham Jr., so that's a pretty good move. Kept Trey Pipkins, re-signed Morgan Fox, signed Eric Kendricks, and signed J.K. Scott, a punter. C+. I don't know. I didn't know what their needs were. What's up, Ven? Getting Eric Kendricks is good because it actually gives them someone who understands like a spasm of fucking run defense on there now. You know, getting Kendricks. Yeah, like B-. B. It's just because it's like Donald Parham's a good signing. Eric Kendricks is a good signing. And honestly, on defense, it's not that. I feel like the only big loss was fucking Nasir Adderley and Will Clapp. It's just like doesn't feel like they lost much. B-. B. All right, we're thinking of B's. What's up, Kenny? No, Kenny, they did a few things. You don't have to make like 1,000 moves to be an A off season or to even have a high grade. It's just make the right moves. Kenny's about to give the Packers an A. He's gonna be like, the only A+ to me was the Packers. Like, huh? That's pretty solid. Yeah, resigning him, keeping him around. Yeah, I'll go B with the Chargers. Again, they haven't done anything crazy, but they also didn't do anything stupid. Like, they'll be a little bit better on defense next year, so that's kind of like their only Achilles heel is running defense, and this guy's good at that if he's not washed. And he's only getting like $7 million a year, not even. Saints then. Finally an NFC team. Falcons had a good offseason. Jesus Christ. Sheesh, look at the Saints. They've had a busy run. Saints automatically get at least a C+ because they had minus $70 million this offseason, and they somehow did everything and are up like 15 to 20 mil. I don't even understand how New Orleans operates. I genuinely don't get this. All right, here's the most confusing team in the history of the NFL. Because these guys are going to be $70 million over the cap in about like 6 weeks. And then they're just going to sit there until like this time next week or like Wednesday last week and be on like 30 million under the cap. And I don't even get how they did that. Literally, they had like the 7th most cap by the time everything was all said and done. Literal magicians. All right, anyway, they lost Andy Dalton, running backs Mark Ingram and David Johnson. No big deal on those three. They lost the return man, Deontay Hardy. That's actually a decent loss. Jarvis Landry's gone. He didn't do shit for him last year. They lost tight end Nick Van Nett. Not a big deal. They lost Marcus Davenport and Kentavious Street. Big deal losing Davenport, in my opinion. They lost David Onveta. Big deal. They lost Shy Tuttle, big deal. They lost Caden Ellis, big deal. Chris Harris Jr., pretty big loss. PJ Williams, decent. He's kind of getting old though. Justin Evans and Daniel Sorensen. They lost a pretty solid amount of like good players, but they're also slightly older. So like Chris Harris, PJ Williams, and Sorensen, they're all kind of old, along with Jarvis Landry and Mark Ingram and Andy Dalton. Like the players they lost are old, with the most significant being Shy Tuttle, Caden, David, and Davenport. Oh, at least two. Yeah. No, that's why I was saying him, right? I give the Saints a C plus mainly because they lost a lot of pieces on defense. Losing Shy Tuttle was not good, and Davenport. But they've signed some pretty good players. They have a new quarterback in Derek Carr, so that's not a bad contract. They signed Jamal Williams, pretty solid. Restructured Michael Thomas's deal. They signed Juwan Johnson, a good tight end. Tano, I can't say that guy's last name. Kalen Saunders, Nathan Shepard, JT Gray, and Blake. No, that was the guy they resigned. Jamal Williams for $4 million a year. Yeah, I don't know why the Lions didn't really want to bring him back for only $4 million a year. They must have a different like idea in their head of what they're trying to do or something going forward. Because that was a confusing one. I was like, what the hell? Why didn't they want to re-sign him? Saints a C plus. Yeah, it's been a decent offseason. Getting Derek Carr is huge. Having a quarterback for the next couple of years is always like a big move to me. Michael Williams is happy. They have a good running back system now. It's just they lost so much on that defense, man. And I don't think these guys are going to be enough to replace like Shy Tuttle and shit. Yeah, we can get Dolphins. That's fine. No, you literally just suggest whoever you want to do. So what are we thinking? Anybody have a disagreement on B minus? B minus, C plus, somewhere in that range. Okay, so we're starting to shape up and have an idea. Yeah, we can do the Bengals after the Dolphins. B minus, C plus. Oh shit. Or this is the perfect average. Oh, that's a size. But B minus, C plus. I want to keep a consistent kind of tough grade, so I'm thinking I'm going to go with C plus. Mainly just because again, I think they did lose a very good chunk, like Davenport, Tuttle, like they lost their defensive line. But they did do some good replacing. I just don't know how good these guys are all going to be compared to who they lost. So for the Saints, unfortunately, it has to be a C plus. So just to recap where we're at a Bills with a C plus, Chargers with a B, Colts with a C minus, Chiefs with a C minus, Jaguars with a D, Patriots with a B, Raiders B minus, Saints C plus, Steelers C, and the Texans with the only A. As you can tell, this list is actually pretty unbiased. I would have to argue. Miami. Back into the AFC we go. Ooh, we spent a lot of time down there in the NFC. Let's get the hell out of that fucking loser city. All right, here's the additions. Let's go over to the subtractions and go over those really quick. Damn, it takes a lot of time to roll up. All right. Ooh, they lost everybody good. They're back to being the mid-Dolphins. Dolph mids. They lost Teddy Bridgewater. They're doomed. They've lost their best receiver, River... I can't even see how to say that name properly. Crackcraft. They're done for. Frauds. All right, now let's get serious. I don't think those two first guys matter at all. They lost Trent Sherfield, really good depth player, really good slot receiver. That should help the Bills out. They lost Mike Gesicki. They lost Hunter Long. So they lost both their tight ends in one offseason. But again, I think they have a different guy that they really like, so it's not that big a deal. Oh, you re-signed him officially? Okay. Then they have lost Greg Little and Brandon Shell. Not the biggest deal. Their offensive line kind of sucks. Trey Flowers they lost. They lost Melvin Ingram. And they lost Andrew Van Ginkel so far. Ingram's a pretty decent loss. And Van Ginkel could be big because he's good depth. But Trey Flowers is kind of washed. John Jenkins, they lost Elandon Roberts. That's a pretty good loss. Justin Bethel, not a big deal. Byron Jones, he was injured anyway. Eric Rowe, that's a pretty good loss. And they also lost Morstead to the Jets. So I would say big losses is Sherfield, Gasecki, but they really weren't using him anymore. So, well, Nicholas, yeah, we'll get to the people you replaced him with. This is just the people you lost. So, Ingram, I would say, Van Ginkel, Roberts, and kind of Eric Rowe. I thought you guys were going to sign Dalton Schultz. I thought he was like perfect for your offense. All right, here's who you guys brought in though. You kept Myles Gaskin and Raheem Mostert, pretty good. Kept Jeff Wilson as well, so you kept all your running backs. You signed in Braxton Berrios to help return kicks, and so that's a pretty good move. Eric Selbert, I think he's depth. Dan Feeney as a center offensive guard, not terrible. Malik Reed, good, like you said, good replacement to replace Landon. So that's a good lateral move. David Long, Duke. So you signed David Long. You re-signed Duke Riley, Nick Needham. You got Jalen Ramsey, so that's huge. You picked up Deshaun Elliott. That's big. Jake Bailey's gonna get. He's not that good. He got the punter injury where punters just kind of suck. Maybe he gets better, but he got paid and then he sucked. So. You got that punter's knee. My knee. I'd say B. This is a good offseason, right? Getting Jalen Ramsey's huge, but they also lost Byron Jones, Eric Rowe. But they also Deshaun Elliott. If Deshaun Elliott can stay healthy, his problem is he plays so hard he like hurts himself. So I do like that move. And they did sign Mike White, decent backup. Again, I like the Ramsey, and I really like the Elliott and Ramsey moves. Malik Reed's a good one. I think Braxton Berrios is a good re-sign. Or a sign, anyway. This feels like a solid B. Yeah, but you also, like, lost a bunch of your secondary. Yeah, like my biggest problem, like I love the picking up of Jalen Ramsey and Elliott. That's a good move. Is that enough for your secondary? Yeah, Vin. Well, we're not really talking about the Cowboys right now. I don't know. I could see B plus. If I'm kind of at a B right now with the Dolphins. I think this is where I'm starting to get a little concerned. And then I go over there and it's like, oh, you brought in Malik Reed, so that definitely replaces at least Ingram. But then it's like you're still out like a bunch of different people. And my only drawback on Elliott is the Lions, who are a super needy defensive back team, let him walk. You know what I mean? They were just like, we're not interested in resigning. So again, I like all these moves. Again, I do. But I do wonder how everything plays out. Plus, I don't know. Like I said, B. I could go B plus. I mean, if other people have a hard line on this, B. Who'd they get again? New additions: Berrios, Malik Reed, David Long, Jalen Ramsey, and Deshaun Elliott. I think those are all pretty solid moves. That definitely makes their secondary better. But by how much is, it kind of depends on Elliott. Depends on how you view Elliott and Rowe. I would say Elliott's a slight downgrade, but only because Eric Rowe's like not going to make the Hall of Fame, but he's like really, really close to being a borderline Hall of Fame safety. And I might be biased about Rowe because of his time in New England, so. B plus. I can be swayed in pretty much any direction on this kind of stuff. Miami's had a pretty good offseason. I can't really hate on it. They improved one of their weaknesses. You're still gonna say B plus. Fair enough. I kind of do an average, so right now we're looking at a B. If anybody has a strong opinion, otherwise, what do you think, Adven? You've been pretty light on giving grades. What, does it feel a little too early for you? The B. Like the B. Yeah, the B feels perfect. I feel like that's a good ranking for them. They can make a couple more moves that make this a solid A off season, I think. I think specifically the offensive line woes, and I think they would be all set. Oh, yeah, I mean, they were good last year when Tua was playing, so it's not like they're a bad team. Again, this isn't saying a team is bad, by the way. We gave the Chiefs like a fucking C minus. Like, I wanted to give them a D, like personally, but like if you know, this is an indication of bad or good. A B C D E F G H I J K L M N O. Okay. Oh, this is a D. God damn it. A B C D Dolphins. I don't know. I'll go B. I'm going to put B for right now just to split the difference. I don't know. We could always. Did anybody say anybody? We can go Cowboys. I think Ven said something about Dallas. What's going on with Cowboys? It's how easy this is. If I see a team name, I'm just going to put them in my mind and we'll do them next. Not a lot of ads. Again, it doesn't really matter if you have a lot of ads, I don't think. I think the right moves are the right moves. Yeah, Dallas added in Brandon Cooks. So let's see who they've lost. They've lost Ezekiel Elliott, whatever, big contract. Now they're out of it. Noah Brown, T.Y. Hilton, not exactly ideal losses, but again, they added in Cooks, so that kind of replaces the Brown loss. Dalton Schultz, they've lost Jason Peters. They lost Connor McGovern. That's a big loss. They lost Dante Fowler Jr., decent sized loss. Jonathan Hankins, Carlos Watkins on the D line. Anthony Barr, he's old as shit. Anthony Brown, don't really know who that is. They lost their long snappers, Jake McQuaid and Matt Overton, and their kicker, Brett Maher. So in terms of big losses, Noah Brown, but they signed a new receiver. Dalton Schultz, Connor McGovern, Fowler Jr., one of their long snappers, because they lost two long snappers, that they have none left. Let's go see what they added. They're keeping their backup quarterback. They're probably going to re-sign Tony Pollard, so that's good. Anthony, oh, he's done. All right, that's good to know. They got Brandon Cooks. They re-signed Van Der Esch. They got Stephon Gilmore, and they re-signed Donovan Wilson. So they made their secondary a little better with Gilmore. They made the receiving core a little better with Cooks. They're keeping Pollard. I don't know, B minus. I can't really complain. I mean, again, they don't have to do a million different things to like be better. A little worried about their offensive line, I will say right away, but Dallas seems to draft offensive linemen very, very well. So I'm not really concerned about that. And they probably already have his replacement ready to go. Knowing Dallas, they're literally stacked at the line. Cowboys a B plus actually. I love the Yep, I love these trades too. I think they're very strong trades. And they have plenty of room to make another big move if they really wanted to. Like they could bring in Odell, they could bring in Hopkins, but I think this trade kind of brings them out. B plus for the trades. Yeah, they're killer trades. They didn't really even give up a lot to get Gilmore. They gave up a 5th round pick and a 5th and a 6th round pick. So they gave up 2 5ths and a 6 to get Cooks and Gilmore. That's efficient trading, folks. I have to give them a B plus. Again, you don't have to do a lot. It could be as easy as that. It's just everybody kind of goes, yeah, God damn it. Those are good moves. See, it's as simple as that. They've done like 3 things, and it's like, oh, that's a good offseason. Debatably good. Oh boy. Look at the New York Giants. Just because they're right here. All right, here's who they've lost. I think this is one of the few teams where you could be like, them losing whoever they lost was actually a good thing. They lost Kenny Galladay, Richie James, and Marcus Johnson. Two receivers I'd never heard of in Kenny Galladay. So they lost John Feliciano on the guard. They lost their center, Nick Gates. That's probably the biggest loss is Nick Gates. They lost edge rushers Jihad Ward, hilarious name, and edge rusher O'Shane Zimines. What the fuck? Defensive lineman Nick Williams. What are these names on the Giants? Linebacker Javion Smith. Cornerback Fabian Moreau. Okay, so they lost Landon Collins, Tony Jefferson, Julian Love. Okay, so their biggest losses on defense were 100% Nick Gates, Jihad Ward just for the name, and then Landon Collins, kind of, Tony Jefferson, and Love, kind of. The three safeties are pretty old, so it's not like the end of the world. Well, not the biggest losses by the Giants. Let's see who they brought in. This is a good offseason for them. They gave Daniel Jones a big ass contract, which is, crazy. And he can earn up to $35 million extra in incentives, which really makes it a crazy contract. Sounds like they're going to keep Saquon Barkley. They re-signed Matt Breida. They signed Paris Campbell. They kept Darius Slayton and Shepard. They're only two good receivers. They traded for Darren Waller, and they only gave up a third-round pick. They signed Raheem Nunez-Roches. They re-signed Gerard Davis. They got Bobby Okereke, very good signing. So they got in Bobby Okereke, Darren Waller, Paris Campbell, and I don't know. For a team that really was a very solid defense that really didn't have many weapons for Daniel Jones to work with, them bringing in Paris Campbell, Darren Waller, I would say that's pretty solid. I can't really hate on that. That's beefing the shit up. And then Bobby Okereke is probably one of the best linebackers of this class, very criminally underrated. Probably the only reason the Colts let him go is because they got Shaq Darius Leonard up there in Indy, and they play the same position. So they had to let Bobby Okereke go, which he's a monster. Like, everybody was kind of drooling over Tremaine Edmonds in the offseason. Like, he was like the crown jewel of like linebackers. I think people who were like really in the know of like how good certain players are, I think Bobby Okereke was more like the crown jewel for people this offseason, more so than Tremaine Edmonds, but because Edmonds is just young, he was 24. So no one has any opinions on this one. All right, I guess I'll just do the only grade for this one. I'll keep it a secret. All right, we'll move on to the next one. I'm not going to tell you guys the grade. If you guys aren't going to participate, you don't get to know the grade. All right, we'll go to the Eagles. All right, the Eagles have lost Gardner Minshew, Miles Sanders. So Miles Sanders is a big loss. Zach Pascal, not a big deal. They lost Andre Dillard, big deal. Isaac Seumalo, big deal. They lost Robert Quinn, big deal. They lost Jason Hargrave, big deal. Linval Joseph, big deal. Sue's not a big deal. He's really old. They lost TJ Edwards, big deal. Kaiser White, big deal. They lost Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. That's a big deal. And they lost Marcus Epps and Brett Kern. So they pretty much lost, yeah, that's a lot. And here's what they've done to bleed these losses, to kind of stave them off. They were able to re-sign Darius Slay and James Bradbury. They brought in Greedy Williams and Justin Evans. They re-signed Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, Jason Kelsey, Boston Scott, and they signed Rashad Penny. Like, this is a pretty bad offseason. I'm trying to look for maybe some of the positives in this one, and it's like, oh boy, there is none here. So none of you guys really had a grade to give the Giants? That's pretty crazy. That's pretty funny. So now nobody gets to know what I gave the Giants. I find that to be a hilarious way to look at that. All right, what do we got on the Eagles then? You don't know if you would have kept Bradbury? Yeah. Yeah, especially on like a 3-year, $38 million contract. That seems crazy. What was that? Almost 12 and a half a year. I guess to see. I don't know. Yeah, I don't even know if I'd give him that high of a grade. I have him at like a D plus. I guess we could average it out and put C minus. Just I don't think they kept a bunch of key players, but it's also like they lost like half their goddamn defense. And they haven't really replaced anybody except they signed Greedy Williams. It's like I don't know if losing CJ Gardner Johnson to $8 million a year to Detroit is worthy of. C minus. I don't even know if it's that high. I'm honestly probably leaning more into the D's. I can do C minus though. Yeah, I'll go C minus. Yeah, where did everybody go? Nobody's chatting anymore. What happened? I can do this off stream. I don't need to do this live. Is nobody interested in the topic anymore? Everybody stopped talking and nobody's saying anything anymore. What happened? This was going really good. Then all of a sudden everybody just at the same time went, oh, I guess this is over. Yeah, this isn't really like just listen along stream, unless you just want me to silently grade all these in my head. This is supposed to be like a collaborative chat along thing, not just sit there and listen. I'm not kidding either. Like, what's the point of doing this if nobody's gonna chat? Let's be honest. What's the fucking point? Because I can just make a video. Like, it's not hard. Like, it's much easier. That way I don't have to listen to what anybody has to say. I just fly through it, put grades down, and just give a brief explanation. Whatever. All right, I'll just go to the next team then. All right, Washington. I'm just going to do it by division now. And then I'll just knock these out as I go. All right. Let's see, Washington. All right. They lost Heineke, they lost Wentz, they lost McKissick, Sims, they lost West, whatever, I can't say that name, Schweitzer. They lost Trey Turner, Nick Martin, John Bostic, Corey Holcomb, and Bobby McCain. So McCain's big, Holcomb's big, Bostic's big, Martin's whatever, Trey Turner's big, Schweitzer's all right. It's about that. And in things that they've gained, it is, let's see, they got Brissett as a decent option. Good pickup in getting Gates and Wiley as their tackle and lineman. They kept their center around. They signed Darren Payne, really good pickup. Well, they franchise tagged him, and I think they gave him a contract too. Yeah. Cody Barton's a decent pickup. David Mayo they re-signed. Obato's a good pickup. They claimed Cam Dantzler off waivers. That's not bad. So, I'm gonna give them a B. This is a pretty shitty offseason. I guess keeping Payne, Wiley, and Gates is good, but other than that, all this kind of sucks. C. Yeah, it just feels like a lot of lateral moves that don't really make the team any better. Like I don't know. They didn't really replace Bobby McClain, and their offensive line's going to be a little better. I don't know. No one's even signed any other free agents except Weston and Cole Holcomb. Yeah, they haven't. Well, they got Cam Dantzler. However you want to consider him. But all right, I'll give them a grade. I'll let you guys know at the end what they get. Since no one's really contributing any more to that, I'll give them that. C minus. There we go. Yeah, I'm not really. I'm not gonna give him a fucking B, Kenny. I don't know what the fuck. Up for what? I'm gonna start asking people when they give them grades like B, like why? Oh, never mind. You're not gonna reply. You're not gonna give an actual answer. Is that everybody in the East? Yeah, it is. All right. We'll do the Bears now because they're the closest team, and nobody's really participating anymore. So I'm just kind of hardlining this and not letting anybody add anything anymore. I'm basically just doing a live video at this juncture. If you guys don't want to participate, that's fine by me. This was supposed to be a stream that we all worked together on and a list we all work together on, but apparently only like one of you guys want to anymore. So anyway, the Bears lost Nathan Peterman, Trevor Siemian, not whatever, who cares? David Montgomery was a big loss for their running back department. They lost 3 receivers, Harry, Pettis, and Pringle, don't really matter. We'll get to the Vikings. We can do them next. Then they got Ryan Griffin. I don't think that's a big deal. Not a big deal to lose Riley Reif. Michael Schofield, again, not them losing offensive linemen doesn't really matter. Al Quaiden Muhammad, not a big deal. Armin Watts, not a big deal. Angelo Blackson, Mike Pinnell, Matthew Adams, Nicholas Moreau, Joe Thomas. They didn't lose anybody good except David Montgomery. It's pretty impressive that you can lose like all these guys at one time and not a single one of them makes a single difference. Oh, you wouldn't have gotten the second best available for why? He's like 24 years old, and I don't know. I don't think I think that's a pretty bad take. I'll actually say then. Milano's like 30 years old and on his way down. Edmonds still has 6 years of development before he gets to where Milano's declines at. I don't know. You can have the old guys. I'll take the young guys who are on their second contract at 24. Who's only going to get better. Does that change? Do you know that, right, Ven? That Edmonds is fucking 24 or turning 24 or some crazy shit like that? You gotta remember that the upside of Edmonds is the fact that he's like a fucking I don't even know how he's so young. There are guys coming into the league that are older than him. Like that's always was my argument. He could work. You know, he's like he was widely regarded as the best available player almost in this free agency class. But I don't know. I don't know why people don't think he's as good as he is, or people try to like downplay. It's like, nah, he's really good. I think it's just because he plays for the Bears. So anyway, they brought in PJ Walker. Who cares? Deonta Foreman. That's not like 2013. Yeah, it was a good signing. I think the best argument is they overpaid him, especially because the linebacker market was like abysmal. Like, why would you have overpaid like that? Everybody else is only getting like $8 million a piece, and then they gave fucking Tremaine Edmonds. That's a good argument though, Ven, is he got wildly overpaid. That's what I would have. I thought you were gonna say that. I actually had no argument. I'd been like, yeah, you're right. He did get overpaid. They shouldn't have did that. Not for fucking. Geez, almost like $20 million a year for a linebacker when when the average was like 8. But you know the Bears are kind of rough spot. When you're as bad as the Bears have been, you have to overpay. But they also here's where they brought in some wins. Yeah, the contract is 4 years, $72 million. And then they also signed TJ Edwards, arguably a better skilled linebacker, to a 3-year, $19.5 million contract. So yeah, they kind of overpaid for Tremaine. So this is who they brought in. They brought in Travis Homer, another good running back. I don't really care about running backs, but they brought in Kari Blasingame. They traded for DJ Moore and got the number 9 pick in the draft. They swapped picks with Carolina. So they picked up DJ Moore. They picked up Robert Tonyan. They signed Nate Davis. pretty good signings. They got DeMarcus Walker, not terrible. Andrew Billings, not terrible. They signed Tremaine Edmonds, TJ Edwards, really good linebacker from Philly, and they picked up Patrick Scales, a linebacker or a long snapper. Overall, they got better on the line. They got some weapons for this kid to wear, at least 2 people to throw the football to. They got better on defense, but it was really just replacing Robert Quinn and Khalil Mack and a couple other people. What are we thinking? Hey, thanks for following, Carter. I appreciate it. Right now, I'm sort of leaning and falling on like a C plus B minus range for Chicago. Because again, they still have a few line moves to make, right? Like it still doesn't feel like they have the tackles yet. It still feels like Fields is going to eat ass like 90% of the plays, and be on the run for his life. So again, I do like the pickup of DJ Moore and Robert Tonyan. That actually gives him his immediate 2 best weapons, and I'm glad they got rid of all those receivers. They all sucked. Right now I'll give them a B minus because they are making the good moves, but I really would like to see like an upgraded or an updated line. They brought in Andrew Billings, so they did get a DT. And they signed DeMarcus Walker, so I don't know. Those guys aren't bad. I'd say Billings is a pretty good defensive tackle. At least like not terrible. Anyway, all right, I'm done with Chicago. I don't want to talk about them anymore. You guys aren't. There's not much back and forth, as I said. Bears equal, I don't know, C plus. No, I'll go B minus. All right, we'll go to the next one then. I'm eventually just going to turn into a person who doesn't pay any attention to the chat. Just annoyed. All right, the Vikings went ahead and lost Adam Thielen, Irv Smith Jr., Jonathan Bullard, Dalvin Tomlinson, Eric Kendricks, Cameron Dantzler, Patrick Peterson, Duke Shelley, and Chandon Sullivan. Significant, kind of Adam Thielen, but he's a bit older. Irv Smith, he didn't really do anything. Tomlinson was a pretty big loss. Kendricks is a decent loss, but he's getting a little older. Dantzler, he was picked off waivers, so they didn't really care. Peterson was a pretty sizable loss, but he's 32. Like all their big losses, it feels like are like older players that were naturally on their way out anyway. So, and Irv Smith is not the greatest, nor is Adam Thielen, but a lot of, again, 30. I think 30, you know. Yeah, that's what I thought, Carter's. Like your team definitely got a lot younger. And in terms of what'd you guys do? You brought in Nick Mullins as a backup, pretty solid. Alexander Mattison is back on a 2-year, $7 million contract. All right, not terrible. Josh Oliver signed, so you replace Irv Smith, basically the same thing. Signed Garrett Bradbury, or re-signed him? No, actually, that's a good signing. Garrett Bradbury's a pretty good signing. Re-signed Austin Schlottman. Re-signed Udo. Brought in Marcus Davenport, really good signing. Brought in Dean Lowry. Brought in Byron Murphy. Who knows how that's going to go. Trying to think here. Byron Murphy could be good, but he was so banged up in Miami. I almost don't really know what to consider that. You guys are probably going to be drafting corners, it looks like, or going drafting defense. Davenport's a big signing. Garrett Bradbury's a big signing. Replacing Irv Smith is going to be big. More running back depth. Man, I don't know. Let me look at what you got. You guys didn't really like lose anything that bad though either. It's like one of these things where it's like These are all players that probably should have been cut. They're all really old and expensive. Cornerback, linebacker, and wide receiver 2 is kind of what we're going for in this draft. Yeah, I would have to say so based on, because again, you guys, you haven't really. Byron Murphy's a good replacement for like a Byron Jones or for Peterson, kind of. If he can stay healthy anyway. He's trying to get traded. They might be trading Za'Darius. C. Yeah, I'm kind of leaning on a C, like a C right now, CC plus. What are you thinking, Carters? What are you thinking about your team right now? Mainly, it's just because like until we know what the draft is, and until Dalvin Cook might be traded. Yeah, that's kind of crazy too. But I feel like one of the problems with the Vikings and some of these other teams, honestly, is like because we're just doing a quick week check-in. Some teams just really haven't started to address like a major position needs, like corner, or like the draft is also a big time to look at everything. C. All right, we can go with the C. C plus. Yeah, we'll just go with the C. I think it's an easy. QSTUV. All right, yeah, they're always going to be last. Equal. All right, so here's kind of a run to here. I'm gonna just show everybody where we're at. What do we got going down? All right, we're an hour and a half into this, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We got 17 teams done. Oh, no wonder you guys are getting worn out. I forgot. I forgot you guys aren't as autistic as I am, and I can't just sit here and do 32 things in a row. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to yell at you guys. I didn't know we'd gotten through like 15 of these cocksuckers. You guys might just be tired. That's my fault. I didn't even realize. I thought we had gotten like 4 of these done, and I was like, what the hell's wrong with these guys? We've still got fucking half the league to do. And it's like, oh yeah, I forgot most people don't do shit like that. All right. That's my bad. I didn't mean to yell at you guys. That's my bad. Oh, that was me being a piece of shit. All right. I'll give you guys my secret grades then. What did I not tell you about? The Commanders got a C minus. Who else got a secret grade? No, I just genuinely didn't know we'd gone through so many of these. That can get pretty Mecole Hardman. If you can bring in Mecole Hardman, that'd bump it up to me to a B minus, or at least a C plus. Green Bay. All right, let's look at Green Bay. This is gonna take a minute. All right, Green Bay lost Randall Cobb. All right, here we go, Ven and Kenny. Randall Cobb, Allen Lazard. They lost tight ends Mercedes Lewis and Robert Tonyan, so they lost 4 more weapons. They lost Justin Hollins. I don't know how important that is. They lost Dean Lowry, Jaron Reed. They've lost Adrian Amos. Not a big deal. He's really old. And Mason Crosby. Really not a big deal. So big deals are Allen Lazard, not Mercedes Lewis. He's old. Robert Tonyan, Lowry, and Jaron Reed. Those are your big deals. And they kept safety Rudy Ford. They signed long snapper Matt Orzik. You didn't lose Cooch. There you go. And they kept Keshawn Nixon. And do we include Rodgers in the losses? We can't yet. They still have because like. So here's how this breaks down in my head, right? Because the Packers are rebuilding, and I'm fine with not giving them a low grade because of this. Because again, all they did was just shed old players and players who are just old and just not going to be here in 2 years. Which is cool. I'm fine with the team rebuilding, but it's so hard to grade them until we know what they got for Rodgers. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, what the fuck do we give these guys? Because it's like, well, if they get a first for Rodgers, that's like a fucking B. Like, I don't even care about anything else they do in the offseason. If they can somehow manage to trade Rodgers with that big-ass contract and get a first-round pick back, that's a W trade. They got all they could out of that Rodgers fella. It'll be between you and Chicago, probably. What are you thinking here, Ven? I still think Chicago's in like a pile of shit to work through. They don't have an offensive line, and it'll be between the Detroit Lions and the mighty Vikings. You retool, Kenny. It's a rebuild, man. The only reason it's not a retool is because you're getting rid of Rodgers. What you were doing last year was a retool. Now it's a rebuild, and that's fine. I don't know. I'll give you guys like a C right now, C minus. Just because I don't, you guys have done nothing except just get rid of old players. And it's like, we're kind of sitting in this weird quasi, like, what the fuck is going on with Rodgers state? And again, this isn't like indication of bad, good, whatever. It's just, there's nothing's been done. I think, actually, I do think re-signing Nixon was huge because he was probably in high demand. You signed him for up to $6 million, so that's pretty big. And I'm mainly doing that because again, I do like your guys' releases. Actually, I like getting rid of Cobb, Lewis, Amos, and Crosby. All right, thanks, Carters. I appreciate you tuning in, man. You have a good night. Take her easy. So the Packers, I'm thinking C minus, and again, it's nothing. PAC, they're ahead of the Patriots. It's nothing like personal, but until I know what like the actual Rodgers trade looks like, it's really hard to give them a grade. Is that it? Oh no, we gotta do let's do the Lions. All right, here's probably one of the few other A's that'll be given out. We'll see how this plays. All right, we have Nate Sudfeld. Who cares? Justin Jackson. Jamal Williams, that's a big loss. DJ Chark is a big loss. Dan Skipper isn't. Evan Brown's a decent size. Actually, he's not. Michael Brockers is really old. Chris Board's a huge loss. Mike Hughes isn't. Armani isn't. And Deshaun Elliott's a big loss. So they lost Elliott, Ford, Brock, not really kind of Brockers, DJ Chark, and Jamal Williams. So some decent losses for the Lions. Let's see how they replaced everybody. All right. So they brought in David Montgomery, so I would say that's a major upgrade over Jamal Williams. No offense to Jamal. He's a fun team leader type of guy, but, I mean, Montgomery's way better. And we've never even seen David Montgomery run with a good offensive line, and Detroit has one of the best. So the Lions replaced Evan Brown with Graham Glasgow, solid upgrade. They re-signed Craig Reynolds and Isaiah Buggs. They re-signed John Kaminsky, Alex Anzalone. They signed for corners. You know how Detroit's weakest spot was the corner position. They signed Emmanuel Mosley from the 49ers, and they signed Cam Sutton from the Steelers. They signed safety CJ Gardner-Johnson from the Eagles. They signed CJ Moore, the safety. They re-signed Will Harris and re-signed Michael Badgley and stole Jake McQuaid from the Cowboys long snapper. And they have the 6th and the 18th pick in the NFL draft. Man, I like for a team that literally was like, all right, we're a top 5 offense in all of football. What's our only weakness? Secondary? All right, let's go get Mosley, Sutton, and CJ Gardner-Johnson. All right, our only weaknesses is this one player named Evan Brown, and we're going to replace him with Graham Glasgow. Dude, they literally have not made a mistake, I think, picking and building this team at all. Like, if you go back and look at when they got Brad Holmes and obviously Dan Campbell, have they made a singular mistake? I think they should at least get an A like the Texans did. Unless we don't really think that Gardner-Johnson, Cam Sutton, and Mosley are very good. But they are. Like, literally, like, the Lions had, like, 90th ranked corners all on that team. I think their highest was ranked 60. Sutton and Mosley are, like, top 30 corners in the NFL. The Lions literally upgraded almost, like, every single category. It's insane how quickly their secondary suddenly is good. And this also allows them to move Jeff Okudah over to safety, where he probably will be a lot better because he's not very good on ball, but he can tackle actually quite well. So, A- is what we're thinking. I can do A minus. I'm fine with A minus. Japan just walked off Mexico. Oh, fuck. Looks like we're facing Shohei Ohtani. Not scared. Not nervous. A. Yeah, I'm thinking A too. I'm trying to find a like where they might have made a few errors or like a mistake to where they wouldn't get a high grade. What's the reasoning against the A Cheeto? They didn't really lose anybody they haven't replaced with a better player. You know what I mean? They're one of the few teams where I really like to look at it and go, wow, they really didn't make a single fuck up. But hey, I'll average it out and give them an A or an A minus. Okay, here we go. Oh, A minus. All right, Lions get A minus. That's the whole AFC North or NFC North. Let's go to the NFC South then. We done anybody? All right, we'll do Tampa first. Work our way upward. First Tampa Bay. All right, Tampa's probably not going to get the best grade. Yeah, but they're massive upgrades over what the Lions had, and I think that's what the point for me was. But again, I get what you mean. Brady's retired. They lost Blaine Gabbert. Losing Gabbert's whatever. Losing Brady's pretty gigantic. They lost Bernard and Fournette. They lost Julio Jones, Scotty Miller, and Brashard Perriman. They lost tight ends Cameron Brate and Kyle Rudolph. They lost offensive tackles Josh Wells and Donovan Smith. They traded Shaq Mason away. They lost Carl Nassib. They lost defensive lineman William Golston, Akeem Hicks, Raheem Nunez Roches. They lost cornerback Sean Murphy Bunting to the Titans. They lost safeties Mike Edwards, Keanu Neal, and Logan Ryan. And they signed Baker Mayfield, Chase Edmonds, Greg Gaines, Levante David resigned. Anthony Nelson re-signed, and they signed Jamel Dean to a 4-year deal. Bucks getting an F. Yeah, I don't really. Unless somebody can argue in a positive manner, I tend to agree with they're back, baby. The Succaneers are back. F. Yeah, they're like I don't really. There's not really much you can say about this. Like, what the fuck is this? This is all they've done all offseason. They haven't tried to shop any of their receivers. They've done fucking nothing. They won a Super Bowl 3 years ago, and they're just gonna ride on that laurel. Yeah, like Chase Edmonds doesn't replace either of the running backs they got rid of. Yeah, I think they might be after Caleb Williams. Look at this. They lost everybody. All right. Let's move on. We don't have to spend much time with them. Who's this? Oh, Carolina. Okay. Let's do Carolina. Let me go plug them in and can't be. The Panthers are okay. I think they're gonna not be as badly. They lost quite a few people. I don't know. None of these people are that good though. They lost Sam Darnold and PJ Walker. They lost Rashad Higgins. Not a big deal. Their biggest loss was probably losing DJ Moore. They lost Andre Roberts, Cameron Irving, Mike Jordan, Pat Eflin. That's actually a pretty good loss at center. Matt Laurinaitis, Henry Anderson, Corey Littleton, Damian Wilson, TJ Carey, Justin Burris, Sean Chandler, Miles Hartsfield. You know what I mean? They didn't fucking lose anybody. Have you heard of half of these guys? I didn't even know half of these guys were in the NFL. I don't know who TJ Carey is, Corey Littleton, Henry Anderson, Matt Laurinaitis, Sean Chandler. So I can't really knock them for losing anybody because other than Moore. But They picked up Andy Dalton, that's a pretty good signing. Miles Sanders, Thielen's pretty good, but they overpaid, but they kind of have to overpay. They didn't have any other receivers. They brought in Hayden Hurst. They brought in Justin McCray. They re-signed Bradley Bozeman. They signed Shai Tuttle, pretty good signing. They signed Deshaun Williams and Von Bell. These aren't bad moves. They had to overpay, kind of like Jacksonville did, but I don't know. Turned out to be a pretty good move by Jacksonville, though, like kind of overpay people and bring them in. Yeah, but the Lions somehow got fucking David Montgomery. Yeah, Sanders is good. Thielen's, I mean, it's an upgrade. It's just like, you know, they kind of lost out at the receiver position. Yeah, but going from the Eagles line down to the fucking Panthers line isn't going to be great. I don't know. I'd give them like a C plus, B minus. Like some of these moves are pretty underrated. Like Shai Tuttle, Von Bell. I think Hayden Hurst is underrated. Like those are good moves in my opinion. So I'd think like a B minus, C plus. Plus they also picked up the #1 pick in the draft, so that's also something to consider. So yeah, I do want to consider the #1 pick added in. They traded DJ Moore for the #1 pick, and a series of other picks, but it really was basically DJ Moore in the first pick for the first pick. And we'll just throw these extra shits in there to keep you happy. I think B minus is probably good for the Panthers because it's been a pretty solid offseason. I would say they're a better football team than they were last year. Especially if they can go get a good young quarterback, then they're pretty good. All right, let's look at the Falcons. Falcons have made a bunch of moves. Let's go see if any of them are any good. All right, here's who they got. Here's who they got rid of. Let's see if anybody matters. They got rid of Mariota, not a big deal. They got rid of Damiere Byrd, not a big deal. Cardero Hodge, not a big deal. Olamide Zacchaeus. That sounds like a Harry Potter spell. Anthony Fisker, Michael Pruitt, again, still nobody. Jermaine Ifedi on the offensive tackle. Colby Gossett, Elijah Wilkinson on the guards, still not a big deal. Abdullah Anderson, he went to the Commanders. Jaleel Jackson as a defensive lineman. Rashaan Evans. Rashad Fenton. Eric Harris. And Isaiah Oliver. They didn't lose anybody. Isn't it crazy how you can lose like 13 players and not a single one of them is that big of a deal? Like the biggest player they might have lost is like Damiere Byrd. Jesus Christ. Impressive. It's impressive to lose that many like useless players. All right, let's see who they picked up. Oh, fuck. All right, Taylor Heineke. All right, hey, they have a pretty good, whatever. They signed Matt Collins. They signed Jonnu Smith, or they traded for Jonnu Smith. Giving up a 7th round pick is hilarious for that. They re-signed Caleb McGarry, good. They re-signed Chris Lidstrom, really good. They re-signed Lorenzo Carter, really, really good. They signed David on Vemeta, good signing. Caden Ellis, good signing. Mike Hughes, yeah, that's all right. They signed Jesse Bates, really good signing. I don't know. I give the Falcons like a B minus. Again, they didn't lose anybody and they got better. Yeah, they brought in Jesse Bates, Mike Hughes, Caden Ellis. Those are good signings. And I think keeping Chris Lidstrom and all those people. Yeah, I think this is a really good offseason. Other than trading for Jonnu Smith, which was stupid, but it also kind of gives another weapon and a little bit of freedom to the other tight end, the good one, Kyle Pitts. Plus, Arthur Smith was the offensive coordinator of Jonnu Smith when he was at his best, so it's a pretty good signing. B minus, good. I don't think anyone's gonna fight me on that one. Falcons equal B minus. Man, we are tough graders on this channel. We're at 22 teams done, and we've given out 2 A's. A Texans got an A, and the Lions got an A minus. Everybody else is like B's and C's. You say B plus, B minus. All right, so I feel good about averaging out to a B then. All right, we'll give Falcons a B. Just kind of go with an average. Just shoot it somewhere in the middle. We got 10 teams left. I don't even know what 10 teams left. Pretty impressive. We're actually going to get through all these teams at a pretty timely manner. Yeah, Bates is a really good deal. Yeah, they got better, but they still have a lot more to do. And they don't really have a quarterback yet. So you gotta remember all that. We've already got all the NFC North. We got the NFC South all done. No, NFC West, though. We haven't done any of these people. All right, let's start with Seattle then. I think that might, then I think that's the entire NFC done, right? We got Washington. We did the Eagles. We did the Giants. We did them. Yeah, okay. Let's finish out the NFC here real quick. All right, here's who everybody that the Seahawks lost. Let's see if any of these people are a big deal for them, because they don't have the replacements. Travis Hosmer and Rashad Penny, not a big deal. They lost Marquise Goodwin and Laquan Treadwell. That's a somewhat, no, it's not. They lost offensive guard Kyle Fuller, offensive guard Gabe Jackson, center Austin Blythe retired. That's a pretty big one. LJ Collier's big. Bruce Urban's too old to be big. They lost defensive linemen Puna Ford, Shelby Harris, and Quentin Jefferson. Shelby Harris is a pretty big deal. Cody Barton's a big deal. As linebacker and corners, they lost Tease Tabor, Artie Burns, and Justin Coleman. He's a big deal. They lost Jonathan Abram, who should be better than he is. And then they lost Josh Jones. They didn't lose shit. They lost a bunch of old players and fucking LJ Collier. All right. Yeah, some of these bad teams just don't really like lose anybody, and when they lose everybody, you know what I mean? Because it's like that was a bunch of old players. I mean, I guess you could say that losing Bruce Irvin's big, but he's old. Hidden Valley Ranch ice cream, that's disgusting. They re-signed Drew Lock, re-signed Geno Smith. That's a pretty big move. They kept their quarterback. They got Evan Brown from Detroit. He's probably the worst lineman the Lions had, but it's an improvement for what they had. They signed Draymond Jones, a defensive lineman. Jerron Reed, pretty good pickup. Devin Bush, really good pickup. Julian Love, pretty solid pickup. I don't know, they pretty good. I'm not really like blown away with anything, but it's like, I don't know, Jerron Reed, Devin Bush, Julian Love, Evan Brown. Like they got better. They kept Geno Smith. So what's the, I'm thinking it's C plus. It was C. You could even argue B minus, but I feel like that, like, yeah, that's how I feel about it too. It's just like, I guess C plus. Like maybe a B minus if I'm feeling really nice, but I'm not really feeling that nice about any of this right now. So it's like, I'm definitely leaning C plus. I think one of their biggest issues to me was offensive line, and I feel like it didn't really get fixed up enough for my taste. So I'll give them a C plus because I do like the defensive moves they made. I hope the rest of the offseason kind of goes towards shoring up that line a little bit, but overall, I don't know. Maybe B minus actually, because I do like those defensive moves. I'll be honest. Yeah, I'll go C plus. Devin Bush has kind of been bad as a pro. There's a reason the Steelers let him leave. All right, what about the 49ers? They've lost quite a few people. They've also gained everybody. Don't even know how this is possible. 49ers might get kind of a bad grade. They lost quite a few people. They lost Jimmy G. but you know they have their own quarterback situation. They lost Josh Johnson. Cares? They lost Tyler Croft. Tyler Croft, not a big deal. What's up, though, Kev? Today was the last day of cold. Hopefully, it's only going to be warm now. All right. Then they lost Mike McGlinchey. That's a huge loss. He went to the Broncos. They lost Daniel Brunskill. That's a big loss. They lost for edge rushers. They lost Kerry Hyder, Jordan Willis, and Samson Ebukam. That's a big loss. Ebukam. And they also lost Charles Omenehu, another big loss. They lost Maurice Hurst, Hassan Ridgeway. That's a big loss. Aziz Al-Shahir. That's another big one. They lost Emmanuel Mosley, Jason Verrett, Jimmy Ward. What's up, Abe? So basically, they've lost McGlinchey, Brunskill, Ebukam, Omenehu, Hurst, Ridgeway, Shair, Mosley, Verrett, and Jimmy Ward. They lost 10 very important players. That sounds pretty good. Oh, Ape, your team got a C plus mainly just because you guys haven't. You guys just haven't done anything. Mainly because you don't really need to, but that's the point of the offseason is to do things. And if you haven't done anything, then in my book, it's like, well, then you're not really doing an offseason. Not any moves to grade. All right, so they brought in Sam Darnold, whatever. They re-signed Ross Dwelly, Jake Brendel. They signed Clelin Farrell. They signed Kelvin Givens. They signed Jason Hargrave from the Eagles. That's a huge deal, by the way. I don't know how in the fuck they brought him in, but that's complete fucking bullshit. And then they got Ty McGill. They re-signed him. They re-signed Flanagan Fowles. They signed Isaiah Oliver, Miles Hartsfield, and then they re-signed Gibson and their long snapper. It's a pretty bad offseason. I'm not going to lie. They lost. I don't know if you can actually lose. I know they picked up Hargrave and Clelin Farrell. I really like the Hargrave move. That's probably their best move, but like they lost a lot of fucking losing Ebukam, losing Hurst, losing Ridgeway, Shair, losing McGlinchey, losing Ward, losing Verrett, losing Mosley. I'm leaning on a C minus right now. Yeah, Cowboys signed Dalton Schultz. Yep, Kevin. Yeah, Kevin, the Texans have an A right now. They're the only team with an A. The Lions have an A minus in my books. I'm going to go C minus here. I'm thinking on the 49ers because again, I like the Ebukam and I like no, they lost Samson. Damn. Yeah, they're getting a bad grade. They're getting a C minus. That's the best I can do. Does anybody have a lower grade that they want to propose for the 49ers? If not, that's fine. I can move on. All right, let's go to the Rams. This is another bad grade coming. What the fuck? The Rams got Hunter Long and they re-signed Coleman Shelton. Dalton Schultz is probably worth more than what you guys paid for him. So the Rams have got a tight end. And that's it. And they lost the following players. QR Rams equal F. I'm already giving them an F because this is a really bad offseason and they haven't really got a really high amount of draft picks back yet. They lost Baker Mayfield, Brandon Powell, Ty Neshke, O'Day. Them losing offensive linemen doesn't. They lost Matt Skura, Matt Obushi. They lost Leonard Floyd, Marquise Copeland. They've lost defensive linemen Greg Gaines, Mike Hokett, Ashawn Robinson. They lost Bobby Wagner. They've lost cornerbacks Troy Hill, David Long, Jalen Ramsey. They lost safety Taylor Rapp, Nick Scott. They lost their long snapper, punter, and kicker. And they brought in. They re-signed a guy, and they brought in Hunter Long to play tight end. You can try to debate me on the F. Mr. Cheeto just put a skull. He's like, Jesus fucking Christ. What did they do? And they only traded one guy, Ramsey. These are all just players that just left or got cut. And they're just like, ah, fuck it. When fucking them picks goes wrong. You know, like how Dave Chappelle has that segment called "When Keeping It Real Goes Wrong." Is this one of those moments where keeping it real goes wrong for the Rams? Hold on. Do you think this is a regretted shirt that guy has? Do you think he ever just like gets sent stuff like this where it just says "fuck them picks" on it, and he's just like, "Damn, I made the mistake. I shouldn't have. This was a terrible decision. What I've done." Because he just released everybody that he traded away for picks. He traded all these picks away. These were all pick trades. Anyway, that's a funny moment for me. Oh, the car. Oh, Jesus Christ. All right, let's see what Arizona's up to. Dude, what is this? Yeah, Ven, I don't think the NFC West did at nothing. All right, here's the Cardinals. Let's go over who they gained first. I think that'll go a lot faster. They re-signed Corey Clement. They signed Zach Pascal. Pretty good move. They kept Calvin Beachum. Pretty good. Re-signed Will Hernandez. All right. Najati Froholt. Never heard of that center before. They signed Kaiser White. That's a good move. And they're going to, for some reason, keep 800-year-old Matt Prater. This is who they lost. Trace McSorley, Darrell Williams, wide receivers Robbie Chosen Anderson, wide receiver Farrell Cooper, AJ Green retired. They lost tight end Max Williams. They lost offensive guards Cody Ford, Max Garcia, Justin Pugh. They lost 3 centers, Sean Harlow, Rodney Hudson, Billy Price. They lost edge rusher Marcus Golden, good player. They lost defensive end JJ Watt, retired. They lost defensive lineman Zach Allen, Michael Doug, Dogby, Tristan Hill. Cardinals are the team that always had the oldest players on the team. Yeah, they're the NFL retirement home. Told you about this, but April 15th is Titanic. Oh, well, that's cool. Yeah, Pat should be interested. They could be losing DeAndre Hopkins. He's probably on the trade block. They lost linebackers Camus Greiger Hill, Ben Neiman, Tanner Vallejo, Nick Vigil. They've lost cornerbacks Byron Murphy, Antonio Hamilton. They lost long snapper Aaron Brewer and punter Andy Lee. That's everybody they lost. I'm giving the Cardinals an F. And this is a bad offseason. They lost every How in the fuck did you only have 3 guards on a roster? I don't even know how the fuck they're losing everybody. What are we thinking? They're in a rebuild, so I don't want to give them an F. I'll give them a D. Because I kind of have a personal thing about rebuilds. This is a clear rebuild, and I don't really know how to grade them without Kyler Murray because he's going to be hurt. So I'll give him a D minus. Mainly because it seems like a rebuild. They look how many people they cut. What's up, Trey? My grade for the Texans. Oh, Trey. You guys got the only A so far because I think you're the only team that understood what the fuck the offseason's point was so far, which is, to improve your football team. You and the Lions are the only teams that really weren't. Yeah, we'll actually improve our teams. We're going to do that. And the Lions and the Texans are in like a weird shootout to improve their team the most, in my opinion. There's a couple other teams that are really close to have an A's, but the Lions and the Texans are the only 2 clear fire A's right now on our list. I can go over the list. 49ers C minus, Bears B minus, Bills C plus, Buccaneers got a F, Cardinals get a D minus, Chargers got a B, Colts got a C minus, Cowboys get a B plus, Commanders get a C minus, Chiefs get a C minus, Dolphins get a B, Eagles get a C minus, Falcons B, Giants B, Jaguars D, A minus for the Lions, Packers get a C minus, Panthers get a B minus, Patriots get a B, Raiders get a B minus, Rams get an F. Saints get a C plus, Seahawks get a C plus, Steelers C, Texans A, Vikings C. I don't even think they're taking their time. They've been very aggressive all off season. All right, let's move on though. I think we got the NFC done now. We'll just work our way back up to the top. Chargers will come next. I genuinely think that's all I have left to do with the AFC. Let me do some counting really quick. We're getting pretty close to the end. Arizona doesn't give me goosebumps of the decisions they attempt to make. No, dude, it's bad. 1, 6, 7, 8, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. All right, we got 6 more to go. So yeah, basically the AFC West and 2 random ass teams. Or well, we've already done the Raiders. We already done the Chiefs. So Broncos and Chargers are so Chargers and Broncos. All right, here's who the Chargers have lost. Chase Daniel, quarterback, wide receiver DeAndre Carter. Wait, did we already do the Chargers? Oh, we already did them. Never mind. We already did the Raiders, did the Chiefs. We do the Broncos? Nope, we'll do Broncos now. I feel like we already did the Chargers. All right, so now we're on to the Broncos, last team in the AFC West. That was pretty embarrassing. I didn't mean to do the same team twice almost. All right, so here's who the Broncos lost. They lost running backs. They lost 4 of what the fuck? They lost their whole running back stable. They lost Mike Boone, Chase Edmonds, Marlon Mack, and Latavius Murray. They lost 3 tight ends in Andrew Beck, Eric Saubert, and Eric Tomlinson. They lost 3 offensive tackles in Calvin Anderson, Cameron Fleming, and Billy Turner. They lost offensive guard Dalton Reisner, center/offensive guard Graham Glasgow. That's one of their biggest losses. Draymond Jones, big loss. Deshaun Williams, big loss. Ronald Darby, he's kind of getting old. Kareem Jackson, not that bad. And they lost their long snapper. So in terms of big losses, I would say, I guess Chase Edmonds, kind of. Eric Saubert, kind of. Billy Turner, kind of. Dalton Reisner, Glasgow, Jones, and Williams. I don't know. They didn't really lose anybody too like damning for them. Their team, these are all whatever guys. Let's see who they signed though. They got a good backup in Jarrett Stidham. They signed Samaje Perine, really good signing. Especially only for a little over 3.5 per year. That's a really good pickup. 3.75 or some shit like that for 7.5. Not bad. They signed Michael Burton, not a bad fullback, but it's whatever. All things considered, Denver arraying much better this offseason. It's looking a lot better. They signed tight end Chris Manhertz, pretty good pickup. They signed Ben Powers, really good signing. Mike McGlinchey, really good signing. Zach Allen, really good signing. They kept Alex Engel. Yeah, I don't know. Denver should get like a B+. They fixed their out. They beefed up that line with Powers and McGlinchey. They gave themselves a fullback, Samaje Perine. B+. I don't really. I think it's hard to argue against one of those kind of grades for the Broncos. Though I guess you could. But I'm thinking B+ for Denver, even an A-, because again, their biggest problem was offensive line last year, and they completely just fixed it with McGlinchey and Powers. But B+, that's where I have them at too. Okay, that's done with them. Oh boy, Tennessee. Did I do the Titans? We did the Houston. We did the Colts. Did the Jags. Did we do the Titans? Nope. Okay, Titans are next. All right, here's everybody the Titans lost. Holy shit. All right, let's see who they gained first. This is a lot easier. They re-signed one of their receivers. They signed Andre Dillard, really good signing. Daniel Brunskill, really good signing. So they got 2 good linemen. Arden Key, pretty good. Aziz Al-Shair, really good signing. Picked up Sean Murphy Bunting, a really good signing. So, I don't know. They've made really good signings. So, I'll give their signings a really high grade. But let's see who they've all lost. Joshua, I don't care. They lost Dontrell Hilliard, not a big deal. Wide receivers, they've lost Conley, Hollister, and Robert Woods. Robert Woods is a pretty big deal. They lost Austin Hooper. All right. Jeff Swaim. Yeah. They lost Taylor Lewan. That's a big deal. Dennis Neely, Nate Davis. Nate Davis is a big deal. They lost Ben Jones, Corey Levin. They lost Bud Dupree. DeMarcus Walker was a big deal. They lost defensive lineman Mario Edward Jr. and Kevin Strong. They lost linebackers Dalen Cole, Zach Cunningham, David Long. They lost cornerbacks Lonnie Johnson Jr., Greg Maben, Terrence Mitchell, safeties Andrew Adams, and Joshua Kalu. And they also cut Fat Randy. So I would say they lost Woods, Hooper, Lawan, Davis, Bud Dupree, DeMarcus Walker, and kind of Lonnie Johnson Jr. Or well, Terrence Mitchell anyway. These aren't that big a deal. None of these guys are that big. I mean, losing like he's getting old and injured. So getting Andre Dillard completely replaces him. Getting Brunskill's good. I don't know. All their signings have been pretty perfect. It's hard to. I don't know. They lost a lot of guys, but it wasn't like they lost a lot of guys that are irreplaceable. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, they lost Lawan, who's like a good clubhouse guy. But, I mean, Andre Dillard's are at this point in their careers, Dillard's probably a better choice. In my opinion, anyway. I don't know. Could be wrong. All right. Well, I'll give him a grade then. See, I'm gonna give them a B minus mainly just because I think all their signings have been really good and they didn't really lose anybody. C plus. I have them at B minus, so I can go down to C plus. I just think I don't know if they haven't made any bad moves. All right, let's see who's next. Covered them. Wait, did we cover the Colts? Yeah, we did. We gave them a C minus. Pittsburgh. Yeah, we covered Pittsburgh. It's the only teams left in the AFC North. Did we cover the Jets? Right? No, we haven't. Okay, the Jets are left. AFC North in general, except the Steelers. So there should be 28 teams done then. All right, cool. All right, that works. We're getting down to the nitty gritty then. AFC Pittsburgh Steelers. We already did them. Cleveland Browns. I think the Browns are next. Yep. Okay, Browns. Dun, dun, dun. All right, here's who the Browns lost. You're gonna go play? All right, see you later, Kenny. I mean, you haven't really been contributing for a while anyway, so I don't really care. Jacoby Brissett, Kareem Hunt, Dearness Johnson. Those are two big running back losses. Farrell Brown, Chris Hubbard, Hijate Frahold. That's all right. Oh, you're good, Kenny. It's whatever. Jadeveon Clowney, Chase Winovich, on both of them. Taven Bryan, Jermaine Carter Jr., Deion Jones, Jordan, whatever his name, how do you say that? Reggie Ragland, that's a pretty big loss. Anthony Walker Jr., Greedy Williams, Ronnie Jackson, and John Johnson. Only like Kareem Hunt's a big one. Jadeveon's probably a big one. The Hidjalti's probably a big one. And maybe John Johnson. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like they lost a ton here in Cleveland. They're not like a worse team because they lost all them people. What's up, Daniel? What else we got? They got Jordan Akins. They signed Joshua Dobbs as a backup. They got Agbo from the Texans, which is a really good pickup. Tristan Hill's a solid move. They got Maurice Hurst. They got Dalvin Tomlinson. They got so those are pretty good signings for their line. They got Juan Thornhill, which is a really big pickup. I don't know, B for the Browns. I don't hate what they did. I mean, they didn't really lose anybody too crazy. And getting Agbo was big. Getting I would say getting Dalvin Tomlinson, Maurice Hurst, Tristan Hill. These are all really big signings, especially Dalvin Tomlinson. So I think they've gotten better. I'll give them a B. I don't really think they've done much to improve the offense that's going to be around their star quarterback, except for, you know what I mean, getting kind of a tight end. But don't know how much offensive work they needed. They did pretty good without having a real QB last year. Here's the Bengals. The Bengals have lost Brandon Allen, Samaje Perine, Trent Taylor, Hayden Hurst. They lost Drew Sample. They lost Eli Apple. They lost cornerback Trey Flowers. They lost Jesse Bates and Von Bell. Those are bad losses. They've lost some bad people. They lost Perine, Hurst, Bates and Bell, and arguably Apple sometimes. So like those are 4 big losses. But they did bring in Orlando Brown, Cody Ford, Max and Nick Scott. I don't know if the Bengals are about to get a good grade. I don't really like any of these moves. They lost quite a bit. They lost both their star safeties, and all they brought in to replace it was Nick Scott. And maybe they can get Taylor Rapp if the Patriots don't sign him. You know what I mean? It's like, ooh, that's not good. So we find ourselves in an interesting situation where I'm looking at like C-, maybe D+ for Cincinnati. This is a bad offseason, in my opinion, anyway. Yeah, and they just lost both of their safeties in a league that really depends on safety play, to a pretty high degree. I'm gonna have to go with like a D+. They didn't have a good offseason. I don't think signing Orlando Brown is enough to like make up for losing Bates, Bell, Hurst, Perine. I don't think losing your whole secondary is good. That might be my more controversial one, is giving the Bengals a D. But again, you got to do shit, not lose very important players to not have a shitty offseason. All right, let's go to the Ravens. Here's who the Ravens have lost. Shit. Oh, damn it. Oh, I didn't lose my. Okay, there we go. Wait, a B for the Bengals? What the fuck did they do? How is that a B? How do you lose 2 of the best safeties in the NFL and get a B and not replace them with anybody? That's quite the take. You got to replace them with people. That's my opinion. All right, Baltimore Ravens. Let's see who the hell they lost. Cool. Like, so you let both of them go in a league where having 4 safeties is now commonplace? Tito, I don't know if you understand how defenses change, but most teams run 3 or 4 safeties at a time now, and like 2 corners for their secondary. Safeties are far more valuable than corners, and it's quickly becoming like, I don't know. That's gonna hurt the Bengals. They have one good secondary player now in Daxton Hill. Yeah, nah, they didn't. That's a D+ off season. You can't really just lose Jesse Bates and Von Bell and be like, no, we've had a good off season. No one is gonna agree with your take on that. Their secondary is gonna be dog shit next year if they don't make like a series of very aggressive moves. They're gonna get like that's gonna hurt them. Like that, those 2 moves. Like, gotta keep one. You almost don't have a reason to not keep one. Like, I don't know. I don't think you can lose Bell and Bates. Anyway, let's go to the Ravens. Kenyon Drake, Demarcus Robinson, Sammy Watkins, Josh Oliver, Jawan James. still has been signed. Ben Powers was a big loss. They lost Justin Houston. He's just getting old. Steven Means, Jason Pierre-Paul, he's getting old. Calais Campbell's getting old. They lost Kyle Fuller, Marcus Peters, and Chuck Clark was traded. So basically everybody big they lost from Houston down to Peters is just old. And then Ben Powers was a big loss. So not too terrible for the Ravens in the old loss department this time around. Damn, everybody's leaving. Well, I'll just we'll just finish this out strong. Fuck all you people. No, just kidding. Freaking losers. All right. And they haven't done anything, so Ravens aren't getting a good grade just on kind of like on point. They haven't done anything. They get an F. Like they're just kind of sitting around waiting on Lamar, and they re-signed 3 guys and everybody else is gone, and they made 0 moves otherwise. So I'm giving them an F. Everybody left and they didn't get anything. And they like have a weird kind of Lamar Jackson thing going on. Who's the last team? Is the Jets all we got left? We do the Dolphins, did the Bills. All right, let's get done with the Jets. Last team on the list. Let me just double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Okay, cool. We're at 31. All right, Jets. Let's see who they've lost. They lost Joe Flacco, Mike White at quarterbacks. They lost Ty Johnson and James Robinson as running backs. One big loss so far. Braxton Berrios, not a big deal. They lost George Fant, Cedric O'Verbly, and Mike Rummers as tackles. They lost Laurent Duvernay Tardif. They lost Nate Herbig. That's a pretty big loss. They lost Dan Feeney. That's a decent loss. And they lost center Connor McGovern. Yeah, not a big deal. They lost Vinny Curry. They lost Sheldon Rankins. That's a big loss. Quan Alexander, LaMarcus Joyner. Those guys are just kind of old. And Nathan Shepard. So big losses for them would be James Robinson, kind of George Fant, kind of Mike Rummers, kind of Nate Herbig, Dan Feeney, and Sheldon Rankins. I would say those are the Jets' bigger losses in the offseason. However, it's kind of hard to rate them, just like it was with the Packers, because like if they pick up Aaron, they get a pretty good grade. But right now, they picked up Alan Lazard, good. Wes Schweitzer, good. Kept Quincy Thomas and Quincy Williams and Solomon Thomas. Those are good. Got Chuck Clark, pretty good. Kept I think that's whatever move Sirloin, and they went ahead and got Morstead. I don't know, B-. I'll give the Jets a nice B- grade. I think that's fair. Plus, we're kind of waiting to see. I like the offensive line moves they made, or maybe C+. Yeah, we'll go C+. I'm not exactly like losing my mind over everything that they've done. All right, that's all the moves. So that's all the teams graded. So let's pop this up real quick for a final look at this. This is what we have there. So 49ers we gave a C-. Bears got a B-. Bengals got a D+. Bills got a C+. Browns got a B. Buccaneers got a F. Broncos got a B+, Cardinals got a D-, Chargers got a B, Colts C-, Cowboys B+, Commanders C-, Chiefs C-, Dolphins B, Eagles C-, Falcons B, Giants B. We gave a lot of B's out. Jaguars D, Jets got a C+, Lions got a A-, C- for the Packers, B- Panthers, B for the Patriots, B- for the Raiders. A lot of these grades should be changed. Rams got a F, Ravens got a F, Saints got a C+, Seahawks got a C+, Steelers C, Texans A, Titans C+, and Vikings C. So I'm going to save these, and we'll probably change these, or we'll use these as reference points. NFL off. Cool. All right. Well, that was fun. All right. I'm gonna get out of here because I don't think anyone's really been watching anymore. So thank you guys for having a good night or for tuning in. I appreciate it. Hopefully you have a good rest of your night. So I'll see you when I see you next. Probably be a couple days before I do another night stream, or I don't know when. All right. Have a good one. Peace out. Go Lions, go Tigers, and of course, it's always go Patriots. And I'll see you when I see you next. Bye.